Fist bump, welcome back. My name is Faris, aka the football accountant, and we are looking at the last team today before we do the sum up on this series of winning the World Cup. So far we have looked at four teams: Argentina, Spain, France, and Germany. And today we are looking at 2006 Italy. Now, this is the first World Cup I watched. And there's a few iconic games, but two that I want to talk about. So, the first one is the final, right, which has the Zizou headbutt, the 1-1, goes to penalties. Very memorable, I think, for a lot of people around my age. And the second one is, for me anyway, is the first game, the opener, which for me it's Friday, so I just watched the opener of this World Cup last night. But I think this video is going to come out tomorrow. The opener for this 2006 World Cup was Germany-Costa Rica, which Germany won 4-2. And the reason it kind of sticks out in my memory is because when I was playing football at the time in under nines, we had a game, I believe it was the next day or that coming weekend, and we also won 4-2. And I remember saying to my dad, I was just like, oh, imagine if like every game that happens in the World Cup, like every result that happens in the World Cup happens to our team for the next like 5-6 weeks, however long the World Cup was back then. And I just think it's so funny to like think back that childhood wonder that like two things could be the same even though they're not related has now caused that to be like not a core memory, but just like a very vivid memory for me. And the other reason that game and the score is so memorable, like I remember more about the game from the final than I do actually this game. I mostly just remember the score and the two teams from watching it. But again, my team won 4-2 that next weekend or the next day, whenever it was. And we had this kid called, I think his name was Daniel, but Dad can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. And we were playing for North Star in Brisbane, people would probably know, away against Albany Creek, again, which people would probably know. And their goalkeeper had the ball in his hands, boots it all the way to our goalkeeper. It takes one bounce, and then Daniel, who was playing in goal at the time, I can't remember if he was the full-time goalkeeper, but it bounces once, he runs towards it, boots it back, and then it goes all the way, bounces about like 2 meters before their goalkeeper as he's still sort of coming out from taking the goal kick, bounces here, goes over his head, and we score a goal, or Daniel scores a goal, and we go on to win that game 4-2. And I think that goal is probably the first goal that I remember. Like I remember a good few goals from that under 9 season, and maybe they came before that, because in Australia the season goes roughly January to December, right? So the World Cup is towards the end of the season, and maybe some of the goals that we scored or I scored from under 9s came before that, but that's probably like the most iconic goal that I can remember from under 9s. So I just thought that was interesting. Now we come to, again, just a reminder, the giveaway. So if you're in the first 50 subs, take a screenshot, send it to me on Instagram, linked below, and then you'll go into a draw to win some free swag. Now we come to lessons from Italy 2006. So again, it's the first World Cup I watched. It's the longest time ago. My memories are going to be a bit more vague, but I've also asked my dad for a couple of things. So the first is, again, we're looking for trends. So they played a centre mid, or someone that was more used to playing centre mid, out wide in Perrotta, very similar to Matuidi doing that role for France. They changed shape a lot. Now, with Argentina, I can pretty confidently say that it was directly to nullify opponents, like we've seen already in that Argentina run, that they played with one spare at the back and they liked to match the midfield. I would say that was the main two rules that they followed. So if you played with two strikers, they were going to play with three centre backs. If you played four in midfield, they were going to put four in midfield to make sure that they had that cover at the back and that they weren't getting overloaded in midfield. Very basic rules to follow, but it worked. Now, Italy changed shape a lot, but I can't necessarily say why yet. So I just thought I'd put that out there. And the other thing, this is the best defensive team out of these last five. They conceded only 2 goals. One in the first 6 games was from an own goal, and then a penalty in the final. So I think that would be so interesting, the mentality of the French players coming into that final knowing that Italy have only conceded 1 goal in 6 games. I mean, I can't even imagine. I know they had some all-time great players, but those sort of things I think would have to weigh on your mind. And again, just bringing it back to a more recent example, we've seen how good Arsenal were this past season defensively, and PSG, I think at times played down a level. Arsenal made them play down a level, but PSG also then played down another level from that, I would say. And I think it's partly due to like the aura, I guess, of knowing what they're coming up against and maybe being a little bit unsure, like, oh, can I lose the ball here? They might counterattack us, things like that. Next, as we know, is minutes distribution. So yellow column sorted most minutes to least minutes. First orange bar, the 11th highest minutes, and the next one, 14th highest minutes. Now, this team, if you're looking at these numbers, they only have 2 players that played all of the minutes available, so 690 out of 690. And then again, looking at the past few teams, if we're looking from, let's say, even 600 up, it's quite a bit less, right? Like Germany, for example, had loads of guys playing all but maybe one half of football. Spain had the same, a lot of players playing all but one half of football. Whereas Italy, you could say, have rotated more. But again, when we get to the lineups, we'll see why. The 2 main numbers that I want you to remember is the 11th guy playing 3.9 full 90s, ballpark, same as everyone else, and the 14th guy playing 2.1, very, very similar. Now, because there's less minutes up here in the starting 11, that means below this line, you are going to see quite a bit more. They actually had 4 guys beneath that line that played over a full game, which again is the highest number out of these 5 teams. So the other way that I like to look at it or explain it is their first 11 played 78.5% of the minutes. Again, that's the lowest number on this list, which we might expect just from taking that cursory look that we just did. And the second number is the next 3 played 9.1% of the minutes, which totals up to 87.6% of the minutes. Again, the lowest out of these last 5 teams. Now we come to the age versus minutes distribution. So age along the bottom and minutes up the side. I've also drawn the trend line from 22 to 32, which is where I would expect most players to either fall under or near this trend line, which all outside of these 2 older players do. Now, the average age, 28.4, is the oldest out of these 5 teams that we've looked at, and there's 2 main ways that I can think of that you would have a high average, right? You can either have everyone clustered around that average, which is more or less what we see here, or you can have a good amount clustered here and some outliers pulling the age up there. Now, a different way to explain that, or for you to visualize it, is you could have houses in a street. You could have, let's say, 9 houses that are worth £500,000, and then you could have 1 house on the street that's worth 10 million. Now, the average of that 10 million house, or having that 10 million house in there, is going to drag the average way up, but that doesn't mean the rest of the street is in line with what that number is going to represent. And what we have here, again, you can see it, it's everything is clustered towards the middle. They only have 3 players in their top 14 minutes getters that are not between 26 and 30, which is what I would say is the rough age where a lot of players peak. Now, it depends on position and, different players mature at different rates, all of these sorts of things. But 26 to 30 is a very good prime age, which apparently I'm in now, but I don't feel it. Then we come to their results. They scored 10, they conceded 2, they kept 5 clean sheets, giving them a goal difference of +8. Again, all of those numbers are ballpark same as everyone else. The 2 goals conceded, however, is I mean, it's the best on this list. It's still in the same ballpark, but it is very, very elite, which, you would somewhat expect of the Italians, I would say. They also needed extra time in the semifinals, and it went to pens in the Zizou headbutt final, as a couple of kids that I've coached when I've worn my French jersey have told me. Now, the first lineup, and these are the changes that get made at some point between this team and the final team. So 4 changes, again, very similar ballpark to all of the other teams. And again, I think they rotated a lot because of that higher average age, right? They also had a few other things, which we'll see that forced rotation, I guess. So he might have gone in, Lippi might have gone in with the expectation to make less changes than he did. But 4 changes between the first game and the final, again, very similar ballpark to everyone else. It shows he's on the right track, but he's also adaptable enough to admit his mistakes or put the better player that's in form in that moment in. So this is the first team lineup. And again, these are the changes that get made from this team to the final. So these 4 players come out. Materazzi comes in, Zambrotta comes in, Gattuso comes in, and Camoranesi comes in. So again, 4 changes between the first team and the final is very, very similar ballpark to all of the other teams. And it shows he was on the right track, but adaptable enough to put the better player in or find that balance and sort of run with it from there. Then we come to the second game. He only makes 1 change at fullback, and De Rossi gets a red card. So you're making 1 change, and then the next game you're going to be forced into minimum 1 more. Then he makes 3 changes, but he might have only made 2. We don't know. And again, very, very similar ballpark as the other teams in terms of you're making a few more changes in the group stage. And then we come to their first knockout game. And again, we see another red card. So we're expecting another change. They've changed shape again, which is something I said they were wont to do. And he's made 3 changes in this game. Again, another game that I will never forget. I was at a friend's house in that same team, North Star, called Jack. And I remember waking up very, very late to watch this game and screaming at the TV with him and waking his parents up at a sleepover. And we were just like, watch this. This is, the injustice here. And as you can tell, I'm all the way over it by now. Not really. Then we come to the quarterfinal. Again, we've already got that red card, so you're forced into 1 change at the back, and he makes 2 other changes from there. Now we come to the semi-final. All he does is bring Materazzi back in for Barzagli. Now, again, you've hopefully seen that the changes are getting less and less as we narrow towards the final. And then we come to the final, and he makes no changes, right? Which makes sense and tracks with all of the other teams that we've been looking at. Again, just the predictions league that I'm running for the World Cup, so you can still join either here or the link is in the bio. And the Makaton word of the day. Now, I tried to find dive because, again, the main game that I remember from this, or emotionally, is the Italy-Australia game in the round of 16, where Fabio Grosso dives for a penalty over, I think it was Lucas Neal, could be wrong, and wins the penalty. They win 1-0 and they go through and go on to win it. So I remember at the time, again, young brain, like I was talking about earlier, and I was like, oh, so if Australia won that game, we would have gone on to win the final, right? Which isn't the case, but that's how young brains think. And yeah, so that's inspired this word, but I couldn't find dive, so I've gone with swim. So swim, again, it's like doing breaststroke. And then the other funny thing is one of my friends, Eric, he was like, oh, did you film like all of these videos and you sort of had them piled up? But in general, I've been doing one each day. So I'm filming this one on Friday. It's going to hopefully come out tomorrow on Saturday. And I've been wearing this same shirt each time, right? Now, only for a couple of hours per time, but it still feels weird to like put it back on, even though the total amount that I've worn it is like 5 times 2 hours, let's say, which is how long you would wear a shirt. It does feel weird, but finally I can wash it. And the reason I bring that up, even though it's kind of weird, is I have, like I said, I have the France 1998 jersey with Zidane on the back, but during a World Cup or even close to a World Cup, I can't wear another team's jersey. I just think that's like horrendous bad luck, and football is the place where I am the most superstitious. Like in my normal life, it's, people in the UK here, they don't walk under when there's like a street sign and it has the two poles. They won't walk between it, they'll walk around. Or when there's like drain covers, if there's an odd number, people won't walk on it. Again, they'll walk around. Whereas if it's like 2 or 4, they'll walk on it. And that kind of stuff doesn't bother me. But, I have to wear the jersey of the team I support when I'm watching their games. I can't wear a France jersey during the World Cup where I'm going for England and Australia. I have to wear the same shin pads. I have to put this boot on before that boot when I'm playing a game. And all of these things, it's like, again, logically, it doesn't make sense when you think about it, because I do that same order when I put my boots on when we lose a game as well for the team I play for. But this is what football does to you. I guess it makes you superstitious. I think there's quite a few people, like I know a good amount of people that are the same as me. So I just thought I'd share that. So yeah, the word is swim, and remember to be ready, safe, and kind. All right, cheers.